Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Keg Book Club. We are still on that wonderful, beautiful book called Outwitting the Devil. That's by Napoleon Hill. And we have been witnessing through reading a conversation between Napoleon and the devil. Now, I know for many of you who have been listening in or might have heard of the book before, you may have your doubts about the legitimacy of such a conversation, but I'm just encouraging you to read or listen with an open mind and just be ready to receive what is being said to you because you never know what you can learn from it, whether or not you do have any restrictions or any doubts about it. It's always important to learn new things, to have an open mind, and to be ready to just expand. So, as we go on this evening, we just want to welcome those of you. Some of you are listening in from Clubhouse. Welcome to the house, Clubhouse. For those of you who would have missed our previous weeks of reading, you can see all of our replays in Clubhouse under Keg Book Club. And you can also find our replays in our Facebook group. If you check my link tree, you will be able to find access to the Facebook group, or you can check my Facebook profile, Andrea R. Adams, and there you will see my link and you can actually have access to Keg Book Club. So whichever way you're tuning in from us, whether you're on YouTube, to those of you who are listening live on YouTube, or whether you're on the replay, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever it is, just greetings to you. Now we have some folks up here. I recognize Diana Leslie. Diana, just shout out to you. Thank you so much for listening in. I'm excited to get started. So without further ado, just give me one moment to share this to our Facebook group. And once I've done so, where the persons on the Facebook group can see me, we will go straight into the reading. Now, that's if my computer would allow me to be great today. Okay, so we are set. Last week we ended at page 115. And we're going to continue from there. But what I like to do when I'm continuing my reading is just start a little bit from the page before so that we would not lose context of where we are. Okay, so I'm trying to get back to my YouTube page. Yes. As soon as I can maneuver back, we will start. Okay, so the post, for some reason, my computer has been moving a little bit on the slower side, so I definitely have to get that rectified. Now we're ready to start. For real, if there's such a thing. Now, page 114. We're going to read the author's note first, and then we continue. It says, think of the countless athletes who have become mega celebrities only to crash and burn from their fast money and fame. And then think of the millions of young people who look up to them. Think of lottery winners who end up losing all their money within just a few years after they win the lottery. Could it be from drifting? A fallout from gambling? Could these cycles be ostracated by the devil? Question. What about those who acquire money slowly by rendering some form of useful service? Are they easily snared too? Answer. Oh, I get them all the time, but I generally have to change my bait. Some of them want one thing, and others want something else. Where my purpose is best served, I see to it that they get what they want most. But I manage to wrap in the packet something they don't want. The thing I give them is the definite thing that makes them drifters. Do you see how I work? Question. And a very clever work it is. You lure people on through their natural desires, but you slip your deadly poison into the object of these desires wherever you can. Answer. Now you're catching on. You see, I play both ends against the middle, so to speak. Question. From all you say, I infer that you cannot induce a non drifter to help you gain control of his mind by baiting him with your bribes. Is that correct? Answer. That is exactly correct. I can do, and I do interest non drifter in my bribes because I use, for the purpose of bribery, the things all people naturally desire. But the non drifter resembles a fish that steals the bait from your hook but refuses to take the hook. The non drifter takes from life whatever he wants, but he takes it on his own terms. The drifter takes whatever he can get, but he takes what he gets on my terms. Stating the matter in another way, the non drifter borrows money from a legitimate banker if he wants it and pays a legitimate rate of interest. The drifter goes to the pawn shop, hooks his watch, and pays a suicidal rate of interest for his loan. Question. So I draw from your claims the conclusion that your hand is mixed up somehow in all of people's troubles and miseries, even though your presence may not be visible. Answer. My unwilling workers are often my best workers. You see, my unwilling workers are those whom I cannot control with some combination of bribes. People whom I have to master by fear or through some form of misfortune. They do not wish to serve me, but they cannot avoid it because they are eternally bound by the habit of drifting. Question. Now I'm beginning to better understand your technique. You bribe your victims through their natural desires and lead them astray while you induce them to become drifters if they respond to your lure. If they refuse to respond, you plant the seed of fear in their minds or trap them through some form of misfortune and hog tie them while they're down. Is that your method? Answer. That is exactly the way I work. Clever, don't you think? Question. Which do you prefer to serve as your propagandist or the young or the old? Answer. The young, of course. They can be influenced by most bribes more easily than people of mature judgment. Moreover, they have longer to remain in my service. Question. Your Majesty has given me a clear description of drifting. Tell me what must be done to ensure against such habit of drifting. I want a complete formula that anyone can use. Answer. Protection against drifting lies within easy reach of every human being who has a normal body and a sound mind. The self defense can be applied to these through simple methods. 1. Do your own thinking on all occasions. The fact that human beings are given complete control over nothing save the power to think their own thoughts is laden with significance. 2. Decide definitely what you want from life, then create a plan for attaining it, and be willing to sacrifice everything else if necessary, than accept permanent defeat. 3. Analyze temporary defeat, no matter what nature or cause, and extract from it the seed of an equivalent advantage. 4. Be willing to render useful service equivalent to the vault of all material things you demand of life and render service first. 5, recognize that your brain is a receiving set that can be attuned to receive communications from the universal storehouse of infinite intelligence to help you transmute your desires into their physical equivalent. 6, recognize that your greatest asset is time, the only thing except the power of thought which you own outright, and the one thing which can be shaped into whatever material things you want. Budget your time so none of it is wasted. 7, recognize the truth that fear generally is a filter with which the devil occupies the unused portion of your mind. It is only a state of mind which you can control by filling the space it occupies with faith in your daily ability to make life provide you with whatever you demand of it. 8, when you pray, do not beg. Demand what you want and insist upon getting exactly that with no substitutes. 9, recognize that life is a cruel taskmaster and that either you master it or it masters you. There is no halfway or compromising point. Never accept from life anything you do not want. If that which you do not want is temporarily forced upon you, you can refuse in your own mind to accept it, and it will make way for the thing you do want. 10. Lastly, remember that your dominating thoughts attract through definite law of nature by the shortest and most convenient route, their physical counterpart. Careful what your thoughts dwell upon. Question. That list is imposing. Give me a simple formula combining all the 10 points. If you had to combine all the 10 in one, what would it be? Answer. Be definite in everything you do. Never leave unfinished thoughts in the mind. Form the habit of reaching a definite decision on all subjects. Question. Can the habit of the drifting be broken? Or does it become permanent once it has been formed? Answer. The habit can be broken if the victim has enough willpower, providing it is done in time. There is a point beyond which the habit can never be broken. Beyond that point, the victim is mine. He resembles a fly that has been caught in a spider's web. He may struggle, but he cannot get out. Each move he makes entangle him more securely. The web in which I entangle my victims permanently is a law of nature, not yet isolated by or understood by men of science. Now, we're going to take a moment and just talk about what is it we just read. Now, I see Miss Diana is in the house. Diana, can you share with us anything? Are you in a position to share with us? Unmute your mic and just share with us a little bit about what you heard and what stood out the most. Okay, Diana might not be able to speak, but just let me share with you a little bit about what stood out the most for me. Okay, I'm seeing a message here. Hello, good morning. Good morning. I'm not sure who this is. I said good morning. The language is definitely not English, and I'm not too sure who exactly it is, but I'm just saying, responding. Peace and love to you, and thank you so much for joining us at Keg Book Club, wherever you are in this world. Miss Diana, let me see what's going on. Okay, so I'm just saying this book is so intense. I'm going to say it again. This book is so intense because there's so many things that we can learn from this. And that's why I said at the beginning, I'm hoping that whoever is listening in, that you do not be taken away by the title of the book. Outwitting the Devil, yeah, it's very encouraging. But for some people, when they start reading and they realize that Napoleon is boldly stating that he's having a conversation with the devil, it kind of gets a little bit curvy for us. For some of us, it's difficult to even comprehend or want to accept such a bold acclamation. So I'm asking you to do have an open mind, decide on the principles, even if you are not comfortable with accepting the conversation as Napoleon Hill says it is. The principles that are in this book are undeniable principles of law. If you've been reading with us, the power of the subconscious mind that we read just last year, or Think and Grow Rich, which we just finished reading. All of these are books with sound principles, and the principles remain the same. We are guided by our thoughts. People who are successful in life, they have a definite purpose. It's setting definiteness of purpose, having definiteness of purpose, and a plan. And we have to understand that we must be willing to sacrifice something for it. You can't just imagine that you're going to have riches and it will happen. And when I talk about riches, some people might be, well, the Bible says that money is the root of all evil. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking richness in resources that are not just money resources, which is very important for us to live the lives that we want. But I'm talking also about resources in terms of mental resources. Many of us, we fight mental battles. I can tell you, I fight mental battles. There are days that I go down a rabbit hole, feeling as if nothing is working out, nothing is happening. And I have to talk myself out of those moments. And I know that many people who will be hearing my voice tonight, or whenever you listening in, you will be able to attest that you have that moment if you're being honest with yourself. So my question to you is that you do have to have a sound mind. You have to be able to pull yourself out of those rabbit holes. Understand that they do come because a lot of it come by so many different setups. One of the things I realized, one of the main reasons why we find ourselves in that position is because we feel as if we failed ourselves. And more than that, we feel as if we failed others because we are living, many of us are living by societal expectations, how society expects us to act, where society expects us to be at whatever age. There's so many paradigms that has been set within our lives that causes us to think that we have failed. So whenever we find ourselves going down the rabbit hole, feeling depressed, it's all because of what society, especially society, outside influences has taught us is the expected mode, the expected place to be, expecting us to have a certain amount of wealth by a certain age, maybe be married by a certain age. If I could get Empress to come on the line, she could tell you, because one of her main messages, it's never too late. So if we can understand that those timelines that we set on ourselves, they're fictional, they're not real. Time, the only time we have is now. We don't have the future. We're not guaranteed of the future. The past is gone already. There's nothing that we can do about the past. The only time we have is now. And what our future looks like is highly dependable on the thoughts that we have right now and the life that we create. Now I have Diana. Diana, are you able to just drop some nuggets? Tell us what stood out.
Hi, Andrea. How are you?
I am doing well today. How are you? Loud and clear.
I'm good, thank you. Thank you. I don't have a lot of time because but I had to respond to the time because we had gone to a conference and my speech was on time, and I said over and over in the conference that time is a mental construct. That means we create our time. I'm also a student of A Course in Miracles as well. And we also believe that there is no time. Time is we make up time conveniently.
Mm-hmm.
And the society has also placed a lot of emphasis on time in terms of designating when you should have a baby, by what time you should be married, by what time you should have your career, not realizing it is a mental construct. I wish I had my YouTube video on my speech that you reminded me of. There are times when I feel rushed, when I feel pressured, and I have to go back to the teachings, this teaching Outwitting the, Think and Grow Rich, or as a student of this course that says, just take a deep breath, close your eyes for a minute, and get yourself grounded. Because when you do, and also the self-talk that you talk about, which I don't practice a lot, but I know that self-talk does matter. Because sometimes the mind will fool you. Mm-hmm. You get caught up in the mind, which is also a construct as well, too. And so, with that, I find that self-talk is very important. As you said, I totally agree with you. That's all for now, Andrea. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Diana. I know those who are listening in, they're going to be able to grasp and gain a lot from what you just shared. Thank you so much. Yes.
You're welcome. You can put me back on mute.
Okay, there's a little speaker. You should add. Let me see if I can do it. Yes, I can. Yes, great, great. So, oh, yes, Diana. Thank you so much. Diana says, I'm in support of you, and I believe that begging God is not the answer. He already knows our need. Yes, Diana, thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so we're going on to the next chapter, which is chapter 6, is hypnotic rhythm. And it says it continues the conversation between Hill and the devil. Question: what is the mysterious law through which you take permanent control of people's body, even before you take over their souls? The whole world will want to know more about this law and how it operates. Answer: it will be hard to describe the law so you will understand it. But you may call it hypnotic rhythm. It is the same law through which people can be hypnotized. Question: so you have the power to use the laws of nature as a web in which you can bind your victims in eternal control? Is that your claim? Answer: that is not only my claim, it is the truth. I take over the minds and bodies even before they die, whenever I can lure them or frighten them into hypnotic rhythm. Question: what is hypnotic rhythm? How do you use it to gain permanent mastery over human beings? Answer: I will have to go back into time and space and give you a brief elementary description of how nature uses hypnotic rhythm. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand my description of how I use this universal law to control human beings. Question: go ahead, but keep your story confined to simple illustrations, which come within the range of my own experience and knowledge of natural things. Answer: very well. I shall do my best. You, of course, know that nature maintains a perfect balance between all the elements and all the energy in the universe. You can see that the stars and the planets move with perfect precision, each one keeping its own place in time and space. You can see that the seasons of the year come and go with perfect regularity. You can see that an oak tree grows from an acorn and a pine tree grows from the seeds of its ancestor. An acorn never produces a pine, and a pine never produces an oak. These are simple things which anyone can understand. What one cannot see is the universal law through which Nature maintains perfect balance throughout the myriad of universes. You earthbound caught a fragmentary glimpse of this great universal law when Newton discovered that it holds your earth in position and causes all material objects to be attracted towards the center of the earth. He called the law gravitation. But he did not go far enough. In his study of the law, if he had, he would have discovered that the same law which holds your earth in position and helps nature to maintain a perfect balance over the four dimensions in which all matter and energy are contained is the same web in which I entangle and control the minds of human beings. Question: tell me more of this astounding law of hypnotic rhythm. Answer: as I have already stated, there is a universal form of energy with which nature keeps a perfect balance between all matter and all energy. She makes specialized use of this universal building material by breaking it up into different wavelengths. The breaking up process is carried on through habit. You will never understand why I am trying to convey what I am trying to convey if I compare it with the method by which one learns to play music. At first, the notes are memorized in the mind. Then they're related to one another through the melody and rhythm. By repetition, the melody and rhythm becomes fixed in the mind. Observe how relentlessly the musician must repeat a tune before he masters it. Through repetition, the musical notes blend, and then you have music. Any impulse of thought that the mind repeats over and over through habit forms an organized rhythm. Undesirable habits can be broken. They must be broken before they assume the proportions of rhythm. Are you following me? Question: yes. Answer: well, to continue, rhythm is the last stage of habit. Any thought or physical movement which is repeated over and over through the principle of habit finally reaches the proportion of rhythm. Then the habit cannot be broken because nature takes it over and makes it permanent. It is something like a whirlpool in water. An object may keep floating indefinitely unless it is caught in a whirlpool. Then it is carried around and around, but it cannot escape. The energy with which people think may be compared with water in a river. Question: so, this is the way in which you take control of the minds of people, is it? Answer: yes. All I have to do is gain control over any mind is to induce its owner to drift. Question: am I to understand that the habit of drifting is the major danger through which people lose their prerogative or privilege of thinking their own thoughts and shaping their own earthly destinations? Answer: that and much more. Drifting is the habit through which I take over their souls after they give up their physical bodies. Question: then the only way a human being can be saved from eternal annihilation is by maintaining control over his own mind while he is on earth? Is that true? Answer: you have stated the truth perfectly. Those who control and use their minds escape my web. I get all the others as naturally as the sun sets in the west. Wow. We're going to take a break for the author's note. Says the devil, those who control and use their own minds escapes my web. Back to the interview. Question: is that all there is to the business of being saved from eternal annihilation? Does what you call your opposition have anything to do with saving people? Answer: I can see that you think very deeply. My opposition, the power you earthborn call God, has everything to do with the salvation of people from eternal annihilation. And for that reason, it is my opposition who provides every human being with the privilege of using his own mind. If you use that power by maintaining control of your own mind, you become part of it when you give up your physical body. If you neglect to use it, then I have the privilege of taking advantage of the neglect through the law of hypnotic rhythm. Question: how much of a person do you take over when you gain control of him? Answer: everything that is left after he ceases to control and use his own mind. Question: in other words, you gain control of a person, you take over all there is in his individuality up to the time that he quits using his own mind. Is that correct? Answer: that is how I operate. Question: what do you do with people whom you control before death? Of what good are they to you while they live? Answer: I use them, or what is left of them, than after I take charge, as propagandists to help me prepare the minds of others to drift. Question: you not only fool people into destroying their own power to control their minds, but you use them to help you trap others? Answer: yes. I let no opportunity get away from me. Question: let us come back to the subject of hypnotic rhythm. Tell me more of how this law works. Show me how you use individuals to help you gain control over others. I want to know something of the most effective way you use hypnotic rhythm. Answer: oh, that's easy. The thing I like best is to fill the minds of people with fear. Once I fill one's mind with fear, I have little trouble causing him to drift until I have entangled him in the web of hypnotic rhythm. Question: what human fear best serves your purpose? Answer: the fear of death. Question: why is the fear of death your favorite weapon? Answer: because no one knows. And by the very nature of the laws of the universe, no one can prove definitely what happens after death. This uncertainty frightens people out of their wits. People who give over their minds to fear, any sort of fear, neglect to use their minds and begin to drift. Eventually, they drift into the whirlpool of hypnotic rhythm from which they may never escape. Question: then you do not mind what religious leaders think or say of you when they speak of death? Answer: not as long as they say something. If the churches should stop talking about me, my cause would receive severe setback. Every attack made against me fixes the fear of me in the minds of all who are influenced by it. You see, opposition is the thing that keeps some people from drifting, providing they do not yield to it. Question: since you claim the church's help instead of hindering your cause, tell me, what would give you cause to worry? Answer: my only worry is that someday a real thinker may appear on earth. Question: what would happen if a real thinker did appear? Answer: you might ask. You ask me what would happen? I, I'll tell you what would happen. People would learn the greatest of all truths, that time they spend in fearing something would, if reversed, give them all they want in the material world and save them from me after death. Isn't that worth thinking about? Note from the author: says the devil, the time people, spend fearing something would, if reversed, give them all they want in the material world and save them from me after death. Question: what is keeping such a thinker from appearing in the world? Answer: fear of criticism. It may interest you to know that the fear of criticism is the only effective weapon I have with which to whip you. If you were not afraid to publish this confession after you ri- wringing it from me, I would lose my earthly kingdom. Question. And if I did surprise you and publish it, how long would it be until you lost your kingdom? Answer. Just long enough for one generation of children to grow into understanding. You cannot take the adults from me. I have them too securely sewed up. But if you publish this confession, it would be sufficient to keep me from gaining control of yet unborn and those who have not yet reached the age of reason. You wouldn't dare publish what I have told you about the religious leaders. They would crucify you. Question. I thought the savage practice of crucifixion went out of style 2,000 years ago. Answer. I don't mean crucifixion on a cross. I mean social and financial crucifixion. Your income would be shut off. You would become a social outcast. Religious leaders and their followers alike would treat you with scorn. Question. Suppose I should choose to throw in my lot with the select few who made a pretense of using their own minds rather than the fear of masses who don't. The masses of whom you claim are 98%. Answer. If you have courage enough to do this, you will crimp my style. There's a note from the author. A chill ran down my spine when I first read this, since circumstances did indeed prevent this manuscript, written in 1938, from being published until now. Well, after Hill's death in 1970, was the delayed publication of the work truly caused by his wife's fear of criticism and concern over the reaction of religious leaders and public school advocates? Or was it due to the work of the devil himself? And now, the family and the foundation have decided it's time to share the manuscript to the world. Shall we heed Hill's wisdom, discover our other selves, and take control of our own minds, reclaiming our destiny? Before I continue, I'll just take a moment to just go over this. Here is it's a lot of information to bring into your consciousness. It's a lot of information. So, for those of you who are listening in, if you're listening in on the after, because right now I'm not too sure who's listening in from Facebook because I don't have that part open, although it's posted there. I have the YouTube open, so I'll be looking to see your comments. All I need you to do is subscribe. Once you subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to leave your comments. Now, going into this. This is so amazing, and this is not the first time I'm reading this book. Yet, every time I read it, like previous books, I am getting new information. Or even if it's not new information, certain information is just becoming more clear. So, for example, the whole idea of being able to ensure that fear is out of our mind and taking control of our own thoughts. I can tell you, if I had to list myself, I would list myself as a drifter, being tangled into this web. Because as much as I verbally say I don't fear a lot of things, there's so many things that are going on, especially with the media being a propaganda that really and truly just drives fear into me in every single way. I think one of the fears, one of the greatest fear which he listed, the number one fear is the fear of death. I think I've come to a peace with that because I understand that I will die. And I'm at the stage where I want to grow old rather than die. There's some people they're fearful of old age. So it's so contradicting because people are afraid of growing old and they're also afraid of death. But if you don't grow old, that means that you will die. So that's really contradicting. It just means that we spend so much time in fear. Now, I'm okay. I'm at peace with death. However, there are lots of other fears. There's fear of poverty. And if we look at the television, the news medias, we just have it in our hands, walking with it. Alerts are popping up everywhere, and there's fear, there's mass confusion everywhere. Every country, there are wars going on. People are hungry. People are going through all sorts of stuff. In the US, a lot of people are possibly going to face deportation. In there are wars going on. Israel, Pakistan, wars are going on. And still, there's fear all over, there's uncertainty. People are hoping that other countries will help, but other countries have their own problems. There's fear everywhere. So, my question to you is how can you exist? I want you to think about this. Just think about it this week. Spend this week thinking about this. How are you going to exist in an environment where you do not fear? Think about, first of all, to write down the things that you fear and be honest with yourself, because a lot of times, so we don't have fears, we're good, but we all have fears to some extent. And now that we've read this and we understand the time that we spend thinking about our fears, another important thing, and it's a thing I thought speak about a lot, is our thoughts. This here, the devil is saying, the Napoleon suggested actually that we do not leave any thought unfinished. So make sure that we have definiteness of purpose. Know what is it that we want to do. Remove fear from our minds. Be thinkers, think for ourselves. These are all things that we need to do to ensure that we are not drifters. Make sure that we give ourselves a fair chance to be able to live the best life that we want to live, to outwit the devil. We have the keys in our hand. So just spend this week, first of all, listing your fears and be honest with yourself. And whatever those fears are, think about how you can come to peace with whatever it is that you're fearful. In fact, one of the suggestions that I would say is to read a book. Read a book like what's the worst thing that can happen? Think about those scenarios and be at peace of what that worst scenario could be. If you die, what's the worst thing that can happen? If someone you know dies, what's the worst thing that can happen? Because no matter what we do, as much as it's a topic that we do not like to speak about, these are things that will happen as long as we are alive. People will die, up to and including us unknowingly of our time of our hour. I know this is kind of a heavy topic, but it's the number one listed fear, and it's something that we have to come to terms with. We know that we're going to die, so we got to find a way to get over it and to stop allowing that fear to paralyze us from really living and thinking and creating and being the best version of ourselves. If we continue to dwell and be worried about if we're going to die, then how are we going to create the wealth that we want to create? Then we're going to now put another thing in our mind, the fear of poverty, because then we are not able to make money. We're not able to create and be great, then we will definitely go into poverty, whether it's financial, mental, physical, all forms of lack and poverty. So I encourage you to continue to open your mind as we continue to read on this interview between Napoleon and the devil. And even if you don't believe it actually happened, just take away from it the principles. Now, as we continue, we are on page 127. We just read the note from the author and we will continue with the interview. Question: why do you lay claim to know scientists? Don't you like scientists? Answer: oh, yes, I like all people well enough. but true scientists are out of my reach. Question: why? Answer: because they think for themselves and spend time studying natural laws. They deal with cause and effect. They deal with facts wherever you find them. But they do not make the mistake of believing, but do not make the mistake of believing scientists have no religion. They have a very definite religion. Question: what is their religion? Answer: the religion of truth, the religion of natural law. If the world ever produces an accurate thinker with ability to fathom the deeply buried secret of life and death, you can be sure that science will be responsible for the catastrophe. Question: catastrophe? To whom? Answer: to me, of course. Question: let's go back to the subject of hypnotic rhythm. I want to know more about it. Is it something like the principle through which people can hypnotize one another? Answer: it's precisely the same thing. I have already told you so. Why do you repeat your questions? Question: that's an old worldly custom of mine, Your Majesty. For your enlightenment, I will tell you I am forcing you to repeat many of your statements for the sake of emphasis. I'm also trying to see if I can catch you in a lie. Don't dodge the issue. Get back to hypnotic rhythm and tell me all you know about it. Am I a victim of it? Answer: not now, but you barely missed falling into my web. You drifted towards the whirlpool of hypnotic rhythm until you discovered how to force me into making this confession. Then I lost control of you. Question: how interesting. You are not trying to recapture me through flattery, are you? Answer: that would be the best bribe I could offer you. It is the bribe I used on you effectively before you got the upper hand of me. Question: with what did you flatter me? Answer: with many things, chief among them sex and the desire for self expression. Question: what effect did your bribes have on me? Answer: they cause you to neglect major purpose in life and started you to drifting. Question: was that all you did to me through your bribes? Answer: that was plenty. Question: but I am back on the track and out of your reach now, am I not? Answer: yes, you're temporarily out of my reach because you are not drifting. Question: what broke your spell over me and released me from the habit of drifting? Answer: my answer will humiliate you. Do you want to hear it? Question: go ahead and give it to me, Your Majesty. I wish to learn how much truth I can stand. Answer: when you found a great love in the woman of your choice, I lost my grip on you. Question: so you're going to accuse me of hiding behind a woman's skirt, are you? Answer: not hiding. I wouldn't put it that way. I would say you have learned to give yourself a solid background with the embellishment of a woman's mind. Question: the woman's skirt has nothing to do with it then? Answer: no, but her brain does. When you and your wife began to combine two brains through the habit of masterminding, every day you stumble upon the secret power within which you force me into confession. Question: is that the truth? Or are you trying to flatter me again? Answer: I could flatter you if I had you alone, but I cannot flatter you while you have the use of your wife's mind. Question: am I beginning to catch on to something important? Am I beginning to understand what was meant by the writer of that passage in the Bible, which says substantially, when two or more meet together and ask for anything in my name, it shall be granted? Is it true then that two minds are better than one? Answer: it is not only true, it is necessary. Before anyone can continuously contact the great source house of infinite intelligence, wherein it is stored all that is, all that ever was, and all that can ever be. Question: is there such a storehouse? Answer: if there had not been, you would not, could not now be humiliating me with this silly forced confession. Question: isn't it dangerous to give this sort of information to the world? Answer: sure, it is dangerous to me. If I were you, I would not give it out. Question: let's get back now to the technique through which you fasten your victims, the habit, on your habit of drifting. What is the very first step a drifter must take to break the habit? Answer: a burning desire to break it. You, of course, know that no one can be hypnotized by another person without his willingness to be hypnotized. The willingness may assume the form of indifference towards life, generally, lack of ambition, fear, lack of definiteness of purpose, and many other forms. Nature does not need one's consent in order to place him under the spell of hypnotic rhythm. It needs only to find him off guard through any form of neglect to use his own mind. Remember this: whatever you have, you use it or you lose it. All successful attempts to break the habit of drifting must be done before nature makes the habit permanent through hypnotic rhythm. Question: as I understand you, hypnotic rhythm is a natural law through which nature fixes the vibration of all environments. Is that true? Answer: yes. Nature uses hypnotic rhythm to make one's dominating thoughts and one's thought habits permanent. That is why poverty is disease. Nature makes it so by fixing permanently the thought habits of all who accept poverty as an unavoidable circumstance. Through this same law of hypnotic rhythm, nature will also fix permanently positive thoughts of opulence and prosperity. Perhaps you'll better understand the working principle of hypnotic rhythm if I tell you its nature. It's to fix permanently all habits, whether they are mental or physical. If your mind fears poverty, your mind will attract poverty. If your mind demands opulence and expects it, your mind will attract the physical and financial equivalents of opulence. This is in accordance with the immutable law of nature. Author's note: Hill first wrote about the law of attraction in March 1990 issue of the Golden Rule magazine. Within the last decade, this immutable law of nature has been popularized around the world by the resounding success of the book and the movie The Secret. Let's continue the interview. Question: did the writer of that sentence in the Bible, whatsoever a man soweth, that he also reap, have in mind this law of nature? Answer: he could have nothing else in mind. This statement is true. You see evidence of this truth in all human relationships. Question: and that is why the man who forms the habit of drifting through life must accept whatever life hands him? Is that correct? Answer: that is absolutely correct. Life pays the drifters its own price on its own terms. The non drifter makes life pay on his own terms. Doesn't the question of morals enter into what one gets from life? Answer: to be sure, but only for the reason that one's morals have an influence on one's thoughts. No one can collect what he wants from life merely by being good, if that is what you want to know. Question: no, I guess not. I see what you mean. We are all where we are, and we are because of our own deeds. Question: no, I guess not. I see what you mean. We are all where we are and what we are because of our own deeds. Answer: no, not exactly. You are where you are and what you are because of your thoughts and your deeds. Question: then there's no such reality as luck, is there? Answer: empathetically, no. Circumstances which people do not understand are classified under the heading of luck. Back of every reality is a cause. Often the cause is so far removed from the effect that the circumstance can be explained only by attributing it to the operation of luck. Nature knows no such law as luck. It is a man made hypothesis with which he explains away things he does not understand. The terms luck and miracle are twin sisters. Neither of them have any real existence except in the imaginations of people. Both are used to explain that which people do not understand. Remember this, everything having a real existence is capable of proof. Keep this one truth in mind, and you will become a sound thinker. Question: which is more important, one thoughts or one deeds? Answer: all deeds follow thoughts. There can be no deeds without their having first been patterned in thought. Moreover, all thoughts have a tendency to clothe themselves in their physical counterpart. One's dominating thoughts, that is, the thoughts one mixes with emotions, desire, hope, faith, and fear, hate, greed, enthusiasm, not only have a tendency to clothe themselves in their physical equivalent, but they're also bound to do so. Question: that reminds me to ask you to tell me more about yourself. Where, in addition to the minds of people, do you dwell and operate? Answer: I operate wherever there is something I can control and appropriate. I have already told you I am the negative portion of the electron of matter. I am the explosion in lightning. I am the pain and disease and physical suffering. I am the unseen general in warfare. I am the unknown commissioner of poverty and famine. I am the executioner of extraordinaire at death. I am the inspirer of lust after the flesh. I am the creator of jealousy and envy and greed. I am the instigator of fear. I am the genius who converts the achievements of men into science into instruments of death. I am the destroyer of harmony in all manner of human relationships. I am the antithesis of justice. I am the driving force of all immorality. I am the stalemate of all good. I am anxiety, suspense, superstition, and insanity. I am the destroyer of hope and faith. I am the inspirer of destructive gossip and scandal. I am the discourager of free and independent thought. In brief, I am the creator of all forms of human misery and the instigator of discouragement and disappointment. Now, that was a lot. We're about 1 minute up until the hour. So we're just going to take this time to review what we read about today, and we will be meeting again next week, same time. Now, if you have not gotten your copy of Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, come on. This is one of the books you got to just get your copy and keep it, because I wanted to stop from reading and highlight, because y'all know I always got my highlighters here, making sure that I highlight the important parts, the parts, well, for me, that stands out. Now, for those of you who are closed mind, please be thinkers, because that's all he's asking. That's all Napoleon is asking, if you can be a thinker. Thinker, be a thinker, be a thinker. Now, being a thinker causes you to be an enemy of the enemy, because all he's asking you is to be a thinker. If you are thinking for yourself, you are not hooked on paradigms. You can outwit the devil. You can live the life that you want to live, and everything starts with your thoughts. Use your thoughts to create the life that you want. And instead of using your thoughts to enable fear, use your thoughts to get rid of fear. Because there are things that will happen that you have no control over. Even if you fear death, you still will die. Fear of poverty can only happen if you do not take the time to think. Create your future. Instead of thinking about the fears, use your thoughts to create the life that you want to live. You are in control of your life. The devil is winning when you don't use your own mind. Stop being pulled into the fear of going to hell and burning forever and all those things. Stop being fearful. Be creative. Use your thoughts to create and to think. Now, I hope that today's reading has been inspirational to all of you. You've been able to get some nuggets from it. Hi, Charlene. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Empress Diana, if anybody have anything to say in closing, I'll be more than willing to have you speak. Just let me know. Yes,
well,
Miss Diana.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Charlene. Well, we all know that fear, the acronym is false evidence appearing real. I don't know if I know you should be familiar with that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
False evidence appearing real. And, there are times in my life when I'm very fearful. But again, I have to really reinforce the fact that I'm a student of A Course in Miracles. And this has helped me to recognize that you can, like a microscope, look at what it is that you're fearful of.
Mm-hmm.
What are the influences in your life, first of all, that have caused fear? Whether it's touched by those who we consider our significant persons, such as our parents, the schools, education, even things like television can be fearful, because if you're fixated on the news at night, the last thing you do is sit down and watch the news. You're going to be fearful because the things that are coming up in the news sometimes are meant to make you fearful.
Oh, yes.
Your thoughts. Do you realize a lot of your thoughts are not really your thought? It's the universal thought. And you have to be able to recognize when your thoughts are not really your thoughts, but that which is, controlled by the universal thinking.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, I do agree. And also, this is where self-talk, as you had mentioned in the other chapter, comes in. I thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing. Charlene, welcome. Is there any word that I know you came in late, but is there anything that stood out or any word you want to share as we wrap up? Okay, Charlene might not be able to speak, but she did put in the message. She said, "The mind is powerful, and all things start there." Thank you so much. Yes, indeed, it is. So we definitely just have to continue to take control of our minds. Make sure that the assignment for this week is to write down the things that you are fearful of. Write down what is the worst outcome of each one of these things, and be prepared to face them, so that you no longer have to be living and worrying about the things that you're fearful of, whether it's poverty, death, loss of love, whatever it is. Write it down and come to peace with it, because we cannot change it. A lot of stuff we cannot change. So this book is just telling us, Napoleon Hill said, remember, the time we take worrying about these things, if we spend that same time working on the things that we want, we will be successful. And also remember, we have the mastermind. It's very important. The enemy can come. You notice when you're by yourself, that's when the enemy attacks you the most. But when you have that mastermind, you're able to do more, because he says he's fearful of two minds. So I just want you to remember that. Find your tribe, find your clique, and make sure that you find people who that you can build with, you can mastermind with, and outwit the devil. Thank you all. This is it for this week. Thank you all so much for listening in. Until next Sunday, we'll see you. Take good care. Good night.